Welcome back to the MOOC course on corporate social responsibility. My name is Aradhana Malik and I'm helping you with this course. And we are in this lecture, we are going to tie all loose ends, and I'll give you some examples of how or the directions that CSR is taking. So we'll discuss very briefly various areas into which CSR has progressed, and this lecture might be a little longer than the rest of the lectures, but please bear with me. We'll just tie in everything that I've found for you, various ideas that we have found. So we'll start with this is future directions in CSR. We'll start with CSR initiatives in socially stigmatized industries. Now this is a field that is slowly gaining importance. Let's see what we have for you here. This is from a paper by Austin and Gaither that was published earlier this year. What are socially stigmatized industries? Socially stigmatized industries are industries that have earned the reputation of being detrimental to some aspect of the three pillars, that is people, planet or profit. For example, soft drinks, fast food, alcohol or brewing companies, cigarettes or the tobacco industry, weapons and explosives, etc. So these are industries that produce goods and services that can harm people. Soft drinks and fast food did not feature in this, but there has been a lot of hue and cry about how soft drinks and fast food are damaging the health of people, and disposal of these maybe even the plastic bags industry, the packaging industry has come under fire because they are producing everything that they sell is in these plastic bags, and we all prefer this. We talk about plastic bags for shopping, but we don't really discuss plastic bottles of or packaged water. We don't discuss packets of chips and biscuits and candy and chocolates, and everything is wrapped in plastic these days. And so all that is generating a whole lot of non-biodegradable waste, and all of these industries, the factories producing these packets have come under fire, and they are being labeled as the socially stigmatized industries. I mean, they're doing something that helps us, but there is a stigma attached to the products they produce or the processes probably they employ. Okay. The challenge with socially stigmatized industries is that CSR activities that portray a company as responsive to the concerns of the society for social causes negatively impacted by the company are likely to face heightened scrutiny from the stakeholders regarding the motivations for these initiatives, because there is no coherence. There is no coherence between, or there is very little coherence between what these industries do and or how they earn their money and what they give back to society. Okay, why is it so difficult for these industries to indulge in or to engage in CSR efforts? Stakeholders evaluate CSR more favorably when the supported cause is related to the company's product, services or market. Stakeholder skepticism may be heightened when a CSR campaign and a corporation's goals appear to be in contrast, such as when CSR appears on the heels of an organizational crisis, or seems to be an effort to appease activist groups or prevent regulatory actions detrimental to the company. Some examples of conflict of interest are McDonald's obesity prevention campaign, Miller's Brewing Company's initiative to reduce and prevent binge drinking. But in this, now there is one very interesting example that I would like to show you where a socially stigmatized industry has done, or a socially stigmatized organization has done wonders, and that is the example of the ITC Chopal. Let me just pull that up here. Okay, so ITC stands for India Tobacco Company. They are, on the one hand, I mean, as the name suggests, they do a lot of work, in addition to dealing with tobacco industry, but they have really done very well in terms of their e-Chopal initiative here. So their FMCG products include cigarettes and cigars, foods, personal care, education and stationery, etc. They also have this agri-business division, and they have come up with this e-Chopal as a more efficient supply chain aimed at delivering value to its customers around the world on a sustainable basis. So here, okay, all right. So the e-Chopal initiative is through the agri-business initiative, and they're really doing wonders as far as their efforts towards agri-business solutions are concerned, and you can go through this in your own time. So this is one example of an organization, not an industry but an organization, one of whose products is really under fire for being socially irresponsible, is doing wonders through their agricultural, through their efforts in another sector. Now, the next topic in this list is the Megaproject social responsibility, which is known as the MSR, also the short form for this. What are megaprojects? Megaprojects are large projects that are spread over, so you know what are megaprojects? Are large projects that are spread over you know, years and decades. And so you know they take things like dams and building of dams, or building of roads, and building of flyovers, and renovating the national highway, or building a new national highway, or converting an existing road into a national highway, or reclaiming the land to broaden the national highway. All of those constitute mega projects. Now, what happens in mega project social responsibility? The policies and practices of stakeholders through the whole project life cycle. This refers to the policies and practices of stakeholders through the whole project life cycle that reflect responsibilities for the well-being of the wide society. Some challenges in mega projects are complexity of tasks, the size of project. You know, it takes several years to several decades. For example, building or renovation of a national highway, setting up a new railway head, flyovers in metropolitan cities, metro rail service in large cities, etc. These are all examples of mega projects. These are projects that take years, sometimes decades to complete. It includes any mega project includes a large number of stakeholders. There's ongoing, sizable, and usually irreversible impact on the social and environmental change, because you know a lot of things are happening. The soil is permanently damaged. The water bodies may you know completely dry up because they are consuming so much water. Again, you know, in some parts of central India, some rivulets have completely dried up because of the you know, sprouting or mushrooming of several factories around them. So some rivulets have completely gone. Then again, another challenge is that mega project social responsibility can never rest with any single individual or organization due to the above. Okay, so this is from a paper by Ma, Zheng, Lin, Chen and Shi that was published earlier this year. Okay. Now, some characteristics of the governance of mega projects are that governance in mega projects is dual centric. There is a large number of stakeholders and decision makers. It's distributed geographically in time and with respect to responsibilities, which makes it difficult to ensure uniformity of any activity across the project. It is diverse as a result of diversity of impact, and it's dynamic as a result of the prolonged life cycle. So you really can't have a structure in place. As the project evolves, the requirements for governance change. So at a time when you're scouting, you are you know, treating the land on which this project is to be built. At that time, you know, you do it in phases. So you'll do it in one part, then you'll do it in another part, then you'll do it in another part. So a different set of people, a different kind of governance is required to manage the work at that point of time, because and it could spread over several years. And then you start building something, so you are putting, you know, pillars in place. So let's take the example of widening of, say, National Highway number 1, which lasted for about 8-10 years. I don't have the exact timeline in mind, but I've seen it, I've experienced it. And so, you know, the widening started, and so the first thing was to reclaim the land. and flatten out the land on National Highway number 1, and then that went on for a long time, and then you start cutting down trees and leveling the land, and in every section that is happening. So whether it's raining or it's peak summer or whatever the season is, so whether it's raining or it's peak summer, whatever the season, you take time to do things, and then the next phase starts, and then you start making the road, and then you have or you make the divider, and then the level of one side of the road was increased and the other side was lowered, so that so that the light from the oncoming traffic would not fall into the eyes of drivers on the other side, and that would in turn lead to higher speeds on the road and lesser accidents, because people are not blinded by the full lights of the oncoming traffic. Then roads were built, and then flyovers were built on National Highway number 1 because to avoid the rush through major cities. Let's take the example of the road between, say, Ambala and New Delhi. I mean, so these flyovers, 3 major cities, are now not a problem. You don't get stuck in traffic jam in Ambala, in Karnal, in Panipat, and the time to travel between, say, Chandigarh and Delhi is reduced probably by 30%, and that is really nice. So anyway, so this process took so much of time, and at different phases you had to have different systems of governance. Okay, some principles and processes of societal governance of MSR. Now, when we talk about societal governance, this is with reference to the OECD principles. You need prudence in decision making, you need reasonableness of action taking, and you need uniformity, transparency, and accountability of controlling. Now, one very specific aspect of mega projects is that mega projects take place, or they are completed only with the full cooperation of the local community. We are talking about major construction projects and or construction or development projects. Unless the community is involved, the project cannot be put in place, it can't be undertaken, and it can't be successful. I have seen the road between Kharagpur and Calcutta widening, and so when I joined the institute in 2008, the road, there were a lot of bottlenecks, and now it takes about 2 to 2.5 hours to go from Kharagpur to Calcutta, whereas in those times it used to take about 4 to 5 hours, because you had to factor in the traffic jams. And so these are big projects, and so land had to be reclaimed. So those farmers had to be kept happy, they had to be convinced to give up their land. Then the land was reclaimed, then the land was treated, then the road was widened, then the road was laid, and then flyovers were built in various places, and so the dividers were put in, and the lighting was there, and I mean, a million things had to be done. So unless people are on board, you cannot make these projects successful. Then the processes of and there has to be controls, and the control has to be uniform across time, space, across complexity, across different aspects, across different parts of the project. Then process of societal governance. You need to have social participation, you have to have social learning, you have to have social interaction, and you have to have social integration. People need to be convinced that this is absolutely necessary for their development. I'm sure while they were widening the road between Kharagpur and Calcutta, a lot of local people who had their temporary shacks on the roadside were not very happy when these shacks had to be removed, and then they were told that probably again that the road would be widened and larger cars would be able to come, and they would be speeding up, and you could have this and that. Now a lot of shops have sprung up in the past 9 years that were not there, so more people now, for a period of time there was nothing there, when the roads were being widened, even the existing shops were taken away. But after that, after everything was set in place, a lot more shops have come up, and now there's hardly any place where you don't find, I mean, probably not for more than half a kilometer. You would not need to travel more than half a kilometer to be able to find a tea shop or a shack or some place that sells water or cold drinks or something like that. So people need to be convinced, and then they come on board, and then it becomes I mean, it is essential for management of mega projects at that point. Okay. Then territorial social responsibility is another part of CSR. Now, what is territorial social responsibility? The background, again, you can read it on your own. I put this for notes, but I am not going to read the whole thing. The crux of what I have put on this slide is that you know, when people in smaller towns get opportunities for rapid development, they go for it, and when they go for such rapid development, then they forget to take care of the environment around them. So, and that doesn't sustain them very long. So in order to you know, come back, and in order to be able to you know, sustain themselves, they need to look after the environment, and they need to have a interaction and integration with the social culture, the social milieu, in order to survive. Okay. So territory, genius loci, the business climate, the process of territorial. What is territorial sustainable responsibility? Territorial sustainable responsibility refers to your responsibility, your social responsibility as a corporation to the physical territory, the geographical territory that you exist in. And so the, you know, where does it start? It starts with the business climate. That in turn leads to the emergence of territory entrepreneurs. This was again a diagram, and I've just put it in the form of a slide here. This was from a paper by Baldo and DiMartini that was published in 2012. Okay, so the business climate then encourages the emergence of territory entrepreneurs or small and medium enterprises, and they in turn have their own ethical principles and values oriented towards CSR. That feeds into the mission, that feeds into the qualification of governance in companies with a soul, that feeds into the country governance oriented towards sustainability. And then they also have territory networks. So the territory, the business climate then also influences the territory network. So the networks within that geographical territory. We are not talking about business sectors, we are talking about physical geographical territory here. And then both 1 and 2, which is the territory entrepreneurs and the territory networks, ultimately lead to territorial social responsibility. These then encourage social responsibility towards the community. You have different organizations you know, in different territories. So you have people doing newer things in a smaller territory, and these people doing newer things in smaller territories then finally say, oh, you're also doing it, I am doing this, you're doing this for sustainability, and you know, you're doing this to save energy, I am saying doing this to save the environment. So they form a network of people who have gone above and beyond their comfort zone and done something new and succeeded in it. So, and then they come together and they form networks, and through these networks social responsibility can be then you know, inculcated. A sense of social responsibility can be inculcated in these territorial territory and entrepreneurs. Okay. Another concept here is called sustainopreneurship, which is sustainable entrepreneurship. Very interesting term. I found a reference to this in this paper by Iyigun. I hope I'm pronouncing the name right, Iyigun. Anyway, the reference is there. So it is sustainable entrepreneurship is a concept that combines both sustainability and entrepreneurship, and has been defined as an innovative, market oriented and personality driven form of value creation by environmentally or socially beneficial innovations and products exceeding the startup phase of a company. So the use, what is sustainopreneurship? It is an evolved form of sustainable entrepreneurship, and according to the author, sustainopreneurship refers to the use of business organizing to solve problems related to social and environmental sustainability. It is a business with a cause, where world problems are turned into business opportunities by deployment of sustainability innovations. Let me show you a few examples here. We have discussed PaveGen, you know, in an earlier lecture, so I'm not going to go into it. We also have the example of keto edible cutlery. Let me show you this here. Okay, we did ITC Chopal. Here, Bakeys. okay, and a company called Bakey's manufactures these edible spoons. I have them, but I couldn't find them, so I would have shown them to you. But I've tried these. I have tried these spoons, and even though they, I mean, the taste is very bland. It's not very much. They have raised a lot of money, definitely. I contributed a little bit to this. I bought a packet of 100 spoons. It's very interesting. I mean, it tastes like dried roti. So it just tastes like very dry, overcooked roti. I got the unflavored spoons, but they last. I've tried these edible spoons instead of using plastic spoons in all our meetings and functions and all. I mean, we can try these, and these spoons then last you through a meal, and then you either, even if you throw it away, stray dogs will consume it, birds will consume it. After all, it's made out of cereal grains. And so it's compressed cereal grains. So they have flavored ones also. They have sweet ones that you can use with your desserts. They have these salted and masala flavored ones that you can use with your normal food, or they have plain ones. They're absolutely tasteless. If you have bad teeth, then maybe you'll have a little bit of toothache while trying to eat them, but you don't need to eat them. You just need to, even if you throw it, it's not going to damage the environment. It's come from local grains. It's just grain powder of different grains that has been compressed and then shaped into these spoons that will last you through a meal, even with Indian style foods, with curries and all the wet stuff that goes into our foods. So it will last you through one meal, and you don't need to, I mean, if you wash it and keep it in water, definitely it will go soggy. But even if it becomes soggy in the monsoon, all you have to do is put it in the microwave, and it becomes crisp again, and then you use it, and so it's very nice. So this is one very interesting example of sustainable entrepreneurship. We need disposable cutlery. We want disposable cutlery that doesn't damage the environment, that is not a threat to wildlife, that is not a threat to the soil. What do? So we make cutlery out of the edible products that are available to us. Amazing example. Please definitely go to the website and see if you can try it. This is one example that I've found here. Okay, the other thing that I would like to show you is solar paneling over water canals in Gujarat. Okay. Here. So in Gujarat, what was done was canals were built over, solar panels were installed over canals in Gujarat. I'm sorry, I don't have a picture here, probably. Okay, I don't. All right, never mind. So canals were built, and this is an article in the Scientific American. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon inaugurated a new canal top solar energy plant in Vadodara district in India's western state of Gujarat. Solar panels were installed over the canals, and in addition to protecting water from evaporation, from providing a natural shelter for the water to travel through. So with the heat also, since they were not directly, water was not directly exposed to the sunlight, water was not evaporating, so it was more water was available for use by farmers. In addition to keeping the water clean, so no animals falling in the water, no birds dying, no children falling in these canals. So it provided a natural barrier for against any potential accidents, and installing panels on these canals gave a source of energy to the surrounding areas. Now, very, very nice initiative. You can read more about it. Then another example is solar paneling for energy generation in large kitchens, like the kitchens of various temples and all. Then you also have an organization called Himachal, Him Urja, which is the Himachal Pradesh Energy Development Agency. This is something that I've personally experienced, and I have brought something to show you. Can you please focus on this? This is a solar panel torch that I use in my own home. It's not fully charged, and here there's too much light, so you may not be able to see it. However, let's see if we can, I don't know if I will be able to show you. You know, it is on. I don't know if you can see, there's a tiny light inside. So you can see the bulb glowing, and it's been charged, but this room is too bright. But you can probably make out there is, let me see, yeah, you can see a little dot over here somewhere. So this is a solar panel torch that you can use in your home, and again, you know, this is something very nice, and you buy it one time and then there's no maintenance cost, and these things are very sturdy, and fully charged this thing lasts about 9 hours. I've personally tried it. I'm aware of one company that does it, but I'm sure a lot of other companies are doing similar things. But I thought, you know, showing you something that I had used would really help you, convince you to come up with such ideas in your own environments if you are going to try something like this. And the state that I come from, I mean, you know, many of us have solar panels for water heating. We need regular hot water in Himachal Pradesh, so it's cold up in the mountains. So we have solar panels installed, and especially, you know, except in the rainy season or when it's snowing, we primarily use hot water from the solar geyser. And we don't need to switch on regular geysers. We have those geysers as a backup in our bathrooms and kitchens, but we don't use them. So this is one example of sustainable entrepreneurship. Then CSR in forestry and wildlife. You know, again, there's enough research. Research is going on. I mean, there's not enough research, but there's some talk of CSR in forestry. This is with reference to a paper that was published by Palmer and Hansen in 2008, and the reference was to forest products industry in the United States. Again, there is research going on, there's talk going on about how you know, the forest products industry can be made you know, more aware of the dangers of deforestation, etc. Some issues here are that they quoted that are applicable across you know, various countries are, as far as environmental issues are concerned: promotion of sustainable forestry practices, increase in the use of renewable resources, adopting environmentally sound purchasing policies, mitigation of global warming, reduction of overall energy consumption, improvement of waste management. As far as social issues are concerned, you know, as far as the forest products industry is concerned, you could encourage public scrutiny of environmental and land management practices. You could invest in surrounding communities. You could promote responsible consumption among consumers. You could stem declining employment in the sector. You could engage with surrounding communities to produce these products in a more environment friendly way. You could improve the industry's public image, which is also the case here in India. Okay, another idea that I had when I was talking to a friend in the Wildlife Crime Control Bureau was that, you know, we are constantly, when we talk about the environment, we are talking about the physical environment, we are talking about the impact of energy, we are talking about the impact, you know, water depletion, temperatures rising, depletion of plants. We don't really want to talk about the animals. A lot of endangered animals, lot of animals are entering the endangered animals list. Why is that? Because we are destroying natural habitats due to rapid industrialization, and that leads to plants and animals having either no place to go, no place to grow or live. So, you know, so we are driving them out of their natural habitats. Now, through our CSR efforts, we could also help these poor animals. Plants, yes, we talk about planting trees and forests, but what about animals? You know, so that is one idea that you could look at and see how. Then another thing that I wanted to talk to you about was cyber stalking. Again, you'll say, what does cyber stalking have to do with CSR? Well, a paper was written, and I was surprised to find this, pleasantly surprised, I must admit, to see that some software companies are actually taking this very, very seriously, and in their efforts to contribute to the society, they're actually doing what they do best, which is dealing with the cyber aspect, you know, or with the internet, and helping with the problems that crop up due to the presence of the internet. So the role of CSR in dealing with cyber stalking through encouragement of the implementation of cyber stalking aware schemes by service providers to support victims, measurement of the effects of an externality factor in dictating the relationship between impact of a given individual's privacy loss and strategic decisions on investment to security controls in an organizational context. This was a paper by Al-Khateeb, Elphaniu, Ahaboy, Barnes and Short, published in 2016. Then another example is CSR in heritage tourism, and again this is with reference to the consolidative model of CSR development proposed by Mahon, Lindgren and Swain. We've discussed this model. CSR refers to the consolidation of cultural, moral, strategic and organizational elements that characterize an organization at different stages in CSR development. How can you heritage tourism, people come to the country to see heritage sites and all. Some perspectives here are preserving museums and heritage, mass tourism, tour operators, so all of these can benefit from CSR efforts. Airlines, the kinds of things you use in the airplanes, leisure and sport, responsible environmental marketing. You could have community based tourism. People come, in exchange for lower rates for accommodation and travel, they may want to help with the community. Fantastic, that's very nice. You come, you stay with us and then you help our community and you go, and so it becomes a synergistic activity and they come and help the community. Then green strategies in maintenance and upkeep of heritage buildings. So you use environmentally friendly strategies in the maintenance and upkeep of heritage buildings. You employ local people for whom that heritage building is really a part of who they are. You don't allow outsiders to come and destroy that heritage. People have an emotional attachment to these heritage buildings. So you employ them, so that way you are helping the society also. Then green, environmental friendly accommodation, especially energy and water use in hotels. So you conserve energy, and solar paneling is a great idea for any place that has a lot of surface area where that can be used for solar panels, and that can really do wonders for the energy problems that we are facing. So that is all we have time for in this lecture and in this course. Actually, we have exceeded the time that was given to us, but I'll have some more surprises put up for you on the website and in your list of lectures, but that pretty much winds up whatever I had to tell you. Now in the very last class, I'm going to go through everything we have discussed, and then we will just wrap this up, and I look forward to your comments and suggestions and inputs on the forum. So thank you very much for being so patient and so interested in the course, and for all your comments and all your suggestions on the forum. I look forward to wrapping up the course with you in the last lecture. Thanks for listening.